You should spend money on your children's wedding. And not just some money, but good money. And you should feel good about doing it. Now, I'm Taublieb, as a reminder, and I'm the youngest financial planner you know who wants you to retire. Now, in today's video, we're gonna walk through why exactly you should spend money on your children's wedding. Surely, you must be thinking, Ari, what do you know, being as young as you are, about spending money on children's wedding? I don't want that to impact my retirement. They have so many more years to build wealth if they need it. Well, today is a fun video for me because this is what I talk to clients about all the time. And what I like to start with is just take a general example. And yes, I'm gonna make some assumptions because if we don't make any assumptions, then we don't get anywhere. So some of the assumptions I'm gonna make is that you've saved and invested well. Check. Now another assumption is that you have 2 kids. I don't know how many kids you have. If I did, that'd be weird. But I'm gonna assume that you have 2 kids and that you wanna fund both of their wedding goals. Now let's assume that that's $50,000 each. You might be hearing that going, whoa, that's way more than I want to spend. You might be hearing that go, whoa, that just gets me the basics already. I want to have a nice extravagant wedding. Well, if that's you and you want to spend $100,000, $200,000, I have a client who spent $250,000 on a wedding, by the way, and I advise them to do that. Many people think financial planners just tell people, just save, just invest more. No. That's the opposite. The goal here is not to maximize return on investment. Let me say that again. The goal is not to maximize return on investment. You might hear that and go, whoa, I don't want to hire that person. Well, I would say, let's hold on a second. Here's why. Because if you want to hire someone just to maximize return, great. Go to a financial advisor, go to your neighbor, go to anyone you know and say, help me make as much money as possible. But that's really not why we're on earth. We are on earth to maximize our return on life. Of course we want to maximize our investments. Of course we want to not pay a dime more than we need to in taxes. Yes, we want to have the trust set up. Yes, we want insurance. We want to make sure that from a health perspective we are covered. Those are just givens. Those are just standards. Of course we need that. From a wedding perspective though, this is the fun of financial planning. What if I told you that if you saved and invested well, you'd have $3 million? Well, if we go through the planning process, we determine you have 2.5 or 3 or $4 million, you might look at that and go, wonderful, that makes me feel really good about my retirement. But I, as a fiduciary advisor, am going to come to you, assuming you're my client in this example, and say, John, Julie, just pretending that's your names, what if instead of dying with $3-4 million, yes, and by the way, John, Julie, I know a healthcare expense might come up. Let's have a separate account just set up for that to add peace of mind there. But what if you could fund your children's wedding expenses while you're here? Not when you eventually pass away. What good is the money then? Of course it's still good. It still goes to them. But can you do more, feel more while you're here? What I want you to do is optimize, maximize your return on life. And if that means I'm going to come to you and say, hey, John, Julie, this means that you can spend $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 on a wedding, you might say, all right, I don't even have an intent. I don't even know how I would do that. Well, you could get an ice sculpture of yourself and your spouse. Okay, now we're getting a little weird. But that's the reality, is the goal of financial planning is to optimize your money. Understand how much you can spend. What is the max threshold? What is the minimum threshold? How much can you spend on a wedding so that when you go do that for your child, you feel good about it? The last thing you should be doing is eating dinner at your children's wedding, going, I don't know how this is going to impact my retirement plan, or what's that going to mean in terms of vacations, or how's that going to impact long-term care? No, you want to say, I have a plan, I have a strategy, I know this is what I can spend, and I'm not here to tell you you can spend $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 and be okay. I'm here to tell you that once we go through the planning process and determine what you can spend, then you can feel good about it. Frankly, I might come to you and say, hey, you're not in a position to do $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 unless you're willing to trade off working a few more years, unless you're willing to spend less in retirement, unless you're willing to take on a little bit more short-term volatility in the stock market. You can see investing is not about a risk tolerance between 1 and 10. It's not a cookie cutter approach. Investing, and really retirement planning, is a comprehensive, holistic approach. What we look at from a holistic viewpoint is, how do your investments talk to your taxes, which talks to your income, which talk to your estate planning goals. Then there's insurance. There's so many things. So when it comes to should you fund your wedding, And if you should, how much, feel good about it. The last thing you should be doing is sitting at your children's wedding thinking about money. The reason I love retirement planning, the reason I'm a young financial planner, is because I get to help people maximize their money, and I want to be with them for the rest of their lives and their children's lives, and that's why I have the best job in the world. So you can tell me in the comments, what amount would you want to spend on a wedding for your child? What if money was not a consideration? How much would you spend? This is about dreaming. Tell me in the comments. Once again, share this with a friend if it's been helpful. Subscribe to make sure you're getting all the new content for new videos, and I'll see you all next time.